Support comes from the St. Louis Public Library Foundation. During these challenging times, free access to digital resources is a necessity. You can help our community stay connected. Support your St. Louis Public Library at slpl.org.
This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha. In 1987, Jack Lane, along with his husband Michael Hamilton, co-founded Stages St. Louis. Together, they were a theatrical powerhouse. They brought live shows to the stage and were heavily involved in bringing the Kirkwood Performing Arts Center to life in 2021. Lane left Stages St. Louis in 2022, and last year, his husband Michael died at the age of 71 of complications from renal failure. Lane says he's still grieving, but at 69, he feels his late husband's support as he leans into yet another career shift, developing shows for Broadway and London's West End, and increasingly moving from support roles to lead producer duties. He already has 4 Tony Awards to show for it, and he's up for a prestigious Olivier Award this weekend for his producing work on a revival of Evita. That comes as his musical, The Karate Kid, prepares to launch a UK tour later this month. The Karate Kid had its debut in Kirkwood in 2022. It tells the story of a New Jersey teen who moves to California and becomes a karate champion. STLPR Arts and Culture senior reporter Jeremy Goodwin talked with Jack Lane about how he's paving a path to Broadway and London.
Well, you grew up in New York City, right?
I did, yeah.
Is that where you fell in love with theater?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I'm from an Irish cop family. Doesn't make
Your
sense.
father was a New York City
He was. My
policeman,
grandpa
right?
was, and my dad was, and 5 kids. And I was the only one who was really interested in theater, but I had just very, very supportive parents who they wanted their kids to do something they loved. But that's where it started, yeah. And my dad patrolled Broadway.
Is that right?
In the 1960s, when it was really, really crappy. He told me a story about the movie premiere of Cleopatra at the Rivoli Theater with Elizabeth Taylor. He was one of the cops there that night, but that was his district in the 60s was Broadway. So we figured that's it. That's what got me to go into the theater.
There's a family lineage there. When you have a show on Broadway,
Exactly.
a man in your family has been working there.
Well before I started. Dad got there first.
And did you meet Michael Hamilton in New York?
He was running an audition for summer stock season, and I was in there for the role of Tony in West Side Story. And he told me of his dream to one day go back to his hometown to open up a theater company. And I went, that's nice.
And that relationship changed your life?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I ultimately married the man. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he had that idea. He said he's from Kirkwood.
He's from Kirkwood.
He went to high school there.
Yeah,
the
he
whole
did.
thing.
And a Muni kid. He was a Muni kid. And he left St. Louis for Broadway and all that kind of stuff. And then he started directing and choreographing. And his dream was to go home and open a theater company.
You moved from New York to Missouri to start a theater company that focuses on musicals. And at the time, you thought it was going to be a part-time, like an out-of-season thing.
Out of season. We thought it would be, come in for the summer, do a few shows, and go back to New York. And wasn't really happy as an actor. I liked the behind-the-scenes creative aspect of, forming a theater company.
Do you recall a point where you started to realize, you know what? In a good way, this is my life now. Like, we're building a life here in Kirkwood, and this is where I am.
Right. And when did I give up my apartment in New York is a big thing, too, because I kept on going back and then going back less. And I think when we got to the 5th season, and we went from 200 subscribers in our first season to 3,000 subscribers in the 5th season, and that's what happened. I went, ooh. Gosh, I think we have something here, and I think we really need to get more roots into the community for education and for fundraising, also, and show that why it is important to have a company like Stages, and then it went crazy. I think we at our height was it like 15,000 subscribers. It was so many. We literally had to cut off subscriptions at one point because you want to get single ticket people in there, the new people in there. That's not the case now because everything is kind of eroded. All regional theaters are all kind of struggling. But there was a point where it's like, guys, we can't sell any more subscriptions. What a nice problem that was. But because of that, I had to stay here. I really did. And I loved what I was seeing. And I loved putting the teams together, and I love that it was happening in St. Louis, and made Michael very happy. And he became this really brilliant director. Every year he grew, and I love supporting artists, designers. That's what a producer does. You say yes and no when you have to, but you want your team to be driving the product. And I would say 90% of the time it was pretty wonderful. You know, in a very tough career, but it can be extraordinarily rewarding.
The last big project you spearheaded at Stages was building a new facility, right?
$25 million facility with the city of Kirkwood. Yeah.
Tell me about the Kirkwood Performing Arts Center.
Oh gosh, it was so fantastic to be a part of the design of the building. We all designed this beautiful space that very much reminds me of Lincoln Center. I call it a mini Lincoln Center because it has that height and the glass, and it has a lot of Kirkwood aesthetics because that's the city of trees, Kirkwood. That's kind of pulled into the building very aesthetically. And it's just, I love the shape of it. I love the acoustical design. I was very lucky that there was a mayor and there was a city council and there was a city manager who said, we have to do this. While I was producing there, it was glorious. And Karate Kid was a revelation, bringing in a pre-Broadway. That's not done in St. Louis. I hope it's going to be done again soon. Karate Kid came here when it could have gone to a lot of other theaters that had done a lot of tryouts. This is a first.
What we call an out-of-town tryout for a musical. Producers will produce it in one city, see what response they get, fine-tune it, get it ready to bring to New York or to London.
This was really cool because it was not just it was a residency. They were here for over 2 months. They came in here early. They came here to work on the show and tweak it even as they're rehearsing. And then during the run, they made a couple of changes, and then they just made a bunch of notes as to when we close in St. Louis, this is what we need to do. And that is what they did. They had another workshop in New York. The biggest change for people who had seen it is in the movie and in the stage version, it starts in Jersey because it's about we're moving to California. Mom gets divorced, dad's gone, I need a new life. Let's go to California. So the opening of the movie and musical, they're in Jersey, and then there's the journey to California. There's a car ride, and then oh my gosh, California's so different. They decided that we need to start the show in California. Okay. Just start. I think it was called California Dreamin', I think was the song. And it's not that the song wasn't good. The song was great, but they said we just feel like we need to start the show. That was actually the biggest change. People have said, well, why didn't you go to New York right away? I said, we didn't want to because we're coming right out of the pandemic. The competition was too crazy.
You also don't want to be figuring the show out on Broadway.
You do not want to do that.
You don't want to be Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
No.
Wholesale changes throughout the previews.
Exactly. And then you literally have two different productions of that. I made sure I saw both those productions just to see, learn something. Learn not to do that. Don't be trying stuff out during it's going out of town is really important.
Karate Kid is starting its UK tour.
It is. Yeah, we start in Wimbledon. The people say, is that the tennis place? Yes, it is the tennis place. New Wimbledon Theater. And then we have it's a 14-week tour, and then we go late September through early November to Toronto, the Princess of Wales. And then
Princess of Wales Theater?
Yes, in Toronto. Yeah. And then from there, it's either Broadway or West End. Not sure. This is phase one. But it's less expensive to produce musicals in the UK. It just is.
The incarnation of Karate Kid that's about to go up has a new song.
Yeah, there's I think there's 2 new songs. And
we have a copy of Million Miles.
I love it. This happens when they've just moved to California, and Daniel is like, I'm so lost. This is so not for me. He's dealt with the bullies. He has been beaten up, and he said, "This is bad. I don't know how I'm going to get through this."
Surprised the kid from Jersey chose to run his stupid mouth. Something tells me that tomorrow I'll be what the whole damn school is talking about. I guess moving means there are rules to learn again. Starting from the bottom, without a clue, without a friend. How should I face tomorrow? Push through and play pretend that this is home.
He's got a lovely voice. Gino Ocello, he's terrific. Very natural actor. He's young. I think he's 19 or 20.
You and Michael Hamilton founded Stages St. Louis in 1987. You stepped away in 2022. Why was that the right time?
I had been producing on Broadway since 2012, mostly co-producing, except for The Prom, where I was a lead producer with Dory Berenstein and Bill Damashki, two extraordinary human beings. I wanted to work more on Broadway. My goal was to, at a certain point, build that performing arts center and then get in a pre-Broadway musical. But after that, in my head was, now what? So it was time.
Jack Lane, you've won 4 Tony Awards for Best Musical or Best Revival of a Musical. Those are Tonys that go to the lead producers?
Yeah, lead producers and the co-producers. So it was Fun Home, Humans, Company, and Sunset Boulevard.
And right now, you're actually up for the first time for 2 Olivier Awards.
Yeah, it's actually, I'm up for 2 of my shows are nominated for Revival. There is Evita, and then there is the Producers Revival. I'm an investor in the producers, so I'm not personally nominated, but I made my producing debut with Evita last summer.
That was your producing debut on the West End?
Yeah, on the West End. And then we've got Karate Kid coming up. And then Evita will come over next season.
Let's talk about Evita, because obviously a classic work there.
Yeah.
But this was not recreating the original direction and sets, and it was a reimagined version, right?
It is very visceral. It's young. It's very sexy. And then what the team came up with bringing Rachel Zegla, it was the Evita, and she will be doing it in New York once we get the dates. She went outside to sing Don't Cry for Me, Argentina.
Outside? What do you mean?
Outside. She went outside into the street to sing it.
Okay.
She went on the balcony of the theater, and she sang to the hundreds of people out on the street. But this is all televised live in the theater.
My promise, don't keep your distance.
It was great.
When I look at your production credits, I don't see a lot of sort of basic stuff, right? I see a lot of shows that have an interesting angle, a different kind of twist.
Eclectic.
Yeah.
Very Fun Home. Gosh, people said, don't do Fun Home. Even though it got great reviews off Broadway, there's no way it's going to run. Thank God we won the Tony Award, because when you win a Tony Award, then people go, I guess I better go see it. And we had a very decent run and made some money. And then the Humans. I mean, my gosh, did you see the Humans?
I saw the national tour.
Oh, my gosh. That play, I saw it off-Broadway, it blew me away so much.
Mom.
You know, if you move to Scranton, your quality of life would shoot up.
If I moved to Scranton, your quality of life would shoot up tremendously.
Oh, yeah? Flatter yourself.
These look so similar to me.
They're literally different.
I wish you had more of a view.
Mom, it's an interior courtyard.
Oh. Well, perhaps we can all take a stroll in the interior courtyard after dinner.
I was sitting next to Michael, and the show was over, and I said, I have to sit here for a minute. I just cannot go out onto the streets of New York. Scott Rudin was the main producer. And Mike Isaacson and Kristen Caskey from Fox Theatricals, they were on it. And I went to Mike and I said, hey, I just forgot to be on the show because it means so much to me. And he got me on it and won a Tony Award.
Could you tell me about a Broadway show that you produced that you just feel particularly good about, that you had a special hand in, that you can sort of see your handiwork there?
Outside of the shows I'm doing right now, it would be the prom. It's the prom. I lived and breathed it through its workshops, and it's very, very timely. It's a true story about this young lady who wants to take her girlfriend to the prom, and it's like, excuse me, you can't take your girlfriend to the prom. We're going to cancel the prom. And people say, well, that would never happen again now. It's like, well, yeah, it's definitely happening now. I remember being in the back of the house and just being with that audience. It was unlike anything I've ever experienced in the theater. It was so uplifting, life-affirming, joyous, hilarious. To me, it's the theater is a town square, and everyone's just joining in from all different walks of life, and that's the magic of the arts. Oh gosh, that's very hallmark. But that I at its best, that is what the arts should be like.
Well, that comes from someone who's been doing this for 40 years, so you could have become hardened and cynical.
I haven't.
But no.
I said to someone the other day, I can be as tough as nails, but I've got a mushy heart. Because if you don't have a mushy heart, then don't do the arts. You have to be able to reach down to that, but you also have to have a tough skin because it's hard. Something happened just the other day that really, really disturbed me. The streaming of the album The Queen of Versailles just came out just the other day. Queen of Versailles did not have a long run on Broadway. Stephen Schwartz, Kristen Chenoweth. It was a $25 million musical. I had my heart and soul in that show. There's a handful of critics that thought it was a masterpiece. Many didn't. And I just posted that it's streaming now, and it was, a lot of pride and a lot of melancholy listening to it. And some fellow producer on comments wrote this nasty comment about the show, and it's like, what? That really hurt me. But it just blows my mind that someone from your world could be that cruel. No, you're not going to like everything.
And why is that a battle they needed to fight? I mean, the show closed.
Closed. It's closed. We lost millions of dollars, and we are still going through a lot. We're scarred. That show scarred a lot of people.
Do you want to talk a bit about what's coming next for you?
Next is I'm in the middle of casting Always Patsy Cline. I've been given the rights to that to bring it to Broadway. I'm looking for Patsy and Louise. I've got the director. I've got the designer. I've got the team has been hired. I can tell you right now, my dream was Kelly Clarkson as Patsy Cline and Reba McEntire as Louise. We went to them, just too busy. But that's the kind of casting we're going through. So I would expect that will be on Broadway in the next couple of years. And that's definitely my baby. And then I'm working with my producing partner, Kimiko Yoshi, on Cyndi Lauper's Working Girl, which just tried out at La Jolla.
Oh.
It's the musical version.
In California?
Yeah. And we did
La Jolla Playhouse.
La Jolla Playhouse, yeah. And I hope that Working Girl will be on Broadway probably in the next 2 years.
Jack, talking to you today, talking about this phase of your career focused on developing musicals, working in New York, working in the UK. You just sound very much in your element.
I feel comfortable. I feel that this is the trajectory of my life, and this is where I'm supposed to be. It can be very, very daunting and very scary, but that's okay. And I'm trying to stay very open and calm about it all, and we'll see where I go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been really lovely.
That's Jack Lane, the co-founder of Stages St. Louis, talking with STLPR's Jeremy Goodwin.
This episode was produced and engineered by Jeremy Goodwin, with production assistance by our executive producer, Alex Hoyer.
Podcast design by Aaron Dorr.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
The Gateway brings you the day's news each weekday from around the St. Louis region and the state capitals in Jefferson City.
Our schools are accredited. We don't need this bill.
And Springfield.
How many more years must pass before lawmakers see time is of the essence?
I'm Abby Larico. Join me each weekday for The Gateway on the STLPR app or wherever you get podcasts.